And it's great to welcome into the show now All Blacks assistant coach Scott Hansen. Scott, thank you very much for joining us from Christchurch. Appreciate your time.
You're most welcome, Ross. G'day, James, Brynner.
Just going to get first shot at him. Scotty, mate, firstly, congratulations. Part of your first squad announcement with a new coaching group with Razor. I'm going to get straight into it with the halfbacks. Obviously, I know you as a person. 6 months of not being able to coach would have been a difficult time for you, watching that amount of code and not being able to connect with them. What are the traits that you've seen through the halfbacks that you see in that kind of position? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you have that kind of understanding and that kind of privilege to be able to pick the nines, right? You're the person that gets to be able to choose the nines. So how'd you find it this year and what are the traits that you're looking for in your nines?
Yeah, g'day, Brynner. So firstly, my role within the selection group was the 9s and 10s. We're really lucky with the group that we have, experience and potential. The traits we're looking for, as you well know, mate, is competitors. And those three boys are. We're very lucky to have TJ that's been selected on form. So I understand the story around resilience and struggle and what he's been through recently. I've engaged with him during the season, but we've spoken about what the next chapter looks like. So we're really excited to have TJ in the group to share that experience, but he needs to compete and come in, and we want him to be the best All Black he can be. And then you have Finlay, as you well know, as a competitor, both sides of the ball, high work rate, very consistent, and he adds a really nice mix to our group around experience and desire to be around a ball. And then you have young Cortez that's coming in, who's, Brynner, as you well know, as a 9, he's learned his craft. He's sat behind Brad. He's been behind a bit of a master there. He's had his time at the Chiefs this year where he's had to fight for the number 9 jersey, and in the last number of weeks he's owned that. His game in particular against the Hurricanes in the semi-final, he was right on, and what that looked like was presence around the ball, defensively organising his team. His support lines and the like have been awesome to watch. So really excited to work with all those three boys. As you well know also, mate, with my time with you, got a clear expectation around what the 9s should look like. They need to be a group that sets the team up at the beginning of the week, selfless. They do everything to set the team up like you used to, Brynner. And by the end of the week, they start thinking about their game. So really excited with this group.
The amount of conversations that me and Scotty would have had. I'm surprised you probably got the WhatsApp out to them already, Scotty, with the clips that you wanted them for that English tour.
Yeah, we've got a little group going already, mate. Don't worry about
that. Loves the detail. Like, that's the great thing about Scotty, and the boys will learn that, and most of New Zealand will learn it as well, that the amount of clips, the amount of work that he does behind the scenes, there's a reason why that he's there. So I look forward to seeing those boys. They're going to love the opportunity to be able to spend that with Scotty and all that. And sorry, just before you do jump in, Jip, just one thing I wanted to ask Scotty. 2 10s, you've selected 2 10s. The reason, thought behind that, was that because of Will Jordan's going to be coming back possibly in that rugby championship? We had that another 15 in there as well, with Stevie covering that 10 position?
That's right, mate. So there's the possibility around that and what that may look like, but where we are currently, and Brynner, it's always important to face current reality, mate, and embrace it. And where we're at the moment is DMAC and Bodie, and Stevie, as we well know, has been playing really well at fullback for the Blues, I think. He's a bit of an unsung hero in that environment, I believe, around the subtlety at the back, his ability to move ball to space, and we also know he can play 10. So first and foremost, DMAC and Bodie need to grab this jersey, and that'll be their challenge.
I'm interested to just sort of chat around what value or what importance do you put on the performance in the final series, being that lift up in intensity and probably giving you a better gauge for what you can see from these players at test match level?
So we would sit in the stand as an example then, James, and we'll be confirming a lot of our pitches, but you're looking at things like body language, you're looking at things around when it's getting tough, how they're handling their team, and when things maybe aren't going right, how they're responding. An example of that on the weekend, it was a tough weekend for the Chiefs. The Blues put on a clinic, but if you watch DMAC picking his teammates up off the ground when things weren't going their way, and the important thing around that, Brynner, you know how important that is and how we drive that. So the other things that we'd come in for and look at in regards to finals, James.
Harry Plummer has played a lot of 12, but got a good fist of the 10. In the Blues, you must have been impressed with his growth and development this season.
Yeah, more than impressed. I'm a big fan. He just seems to have test match temperament, doesn't he? He's very calm. He's composed. I love the way he kept the ball in front of the Blues. They had a really defined game plan. Everyone knew it was coming. He was still able to keep the ball in front of the Blues, pin teams in corners. Then you talk about goal kicking. He grew his game because he had more time in the 10. And I hope that continues for him. I've been really positive towards him in our group, and he is a guy we're definitely looking at. I'm excited for him in New Zealand rugby with his continued growth.
Scott, when we talk about that Blues game plan and how, Vern Cotter brought in a very much a European style approach, is that where New Zealand rugby is heading as well? Or when we think, I suppose, a lot about New Zealand rugby, we think about what you're playing in front of you and, those moments. But is there going to be an evolution back in that direction, considering how successful that was for the Blues?
Oh, I think the key word you're saying there, Ross, is evolution. And all teams never had it, so need to have it. So what that looks like is finding where you are in your game and the ability to evolve. Now, the Blues are outstanding in what they had. It was their roster that allowed them to do it and their commitment to the game plan. Every team, as I said before, knew it was coming, but weren't able to stand in front of it. So I thought they put a clinic on in the final, to be honest, around their commitment to their game plan. What does that look like for the All Blacks? Well, we're open enough. We're open-minded to look at what's going well in New Zealand rugby and adapting with it. I will say, though, that a number of years ago, Ireland came here and showed us that style. I do feel the All Blacks even last year had a bit of that in the middle of the field, and France in particular are the same. So it's there and thereabouts. It's something we definitely look at around, and like we talked, Bruno, we talk around where do we need to go? Where's the opportunity? And until they fix it, let's keep going there.
James and I and Ross, the last probably 12 to 18 months have talked around the breakdown of physicality is just a lot different in international rugby than it is probably in the Super Rugby, even though the Blues were able to do that. Is that the reason why you've selected a guy like Wallace Atiti, who obviously had a really good patch, I'd say, 5 to 6 games and obviously warranted his selection, but the loose forward trio with the likes of Jacobson and Ethan Blackadder, that kind of mould of being able to get the hard work done, but then having that obviously out and out at number 8, like a Wallace Atiti and Ade Severe as number 8s as well.
Bruno, how privileged are we in New Zealand to have the quality of loose forwards? We do. And the All Blacks is a tough team to pick, and that means some very good players at this stage aren't selected. It doesn't mean they're not very, very close to this team. When you talk around what Wallace and our loose forwards add, it's the cohesion in the group, is what they offer, their strengths, how they work well together. You watch any finals footy up in Europe at the moment, and the physicality and the mentality is very much aligned to where Test match rugby is at the moment. So we've got a clear understanding of where that needs to be. And Super Rugby and international rugby can be different around the physicality at the breakdown. And we understand where we're going to need to be around our ability to maintain possession and also have ruck pressure. So we've picked loose forwards that are going to allow us to do that, as well as have the ability to adapt during the games with skill sets. Our great strength in our loose forwards is the ability to beat a man also. So beat a man in the collision and also with their feet and their skill sets. So we'll be using those skill sets within our game.
We've seen Hoskins Sotutu score 1 million tries this year. We've seen him make a real impact, and to some degree, we've seen a slight change in his play, where you've probably seen a bit more effort, from where I'm coming from within his play. So he didn't make this side. What more do you guys need out of a player like Hoskins in order to make a squad?
Hoskins just needs to continue to do what he's doing. As I said, it's hard to put 34 into 32. It's a tough team to pick, the All Blacks. Hoskins can be seen to be unlucky. His efforts, his game at the Blues was of the highest standard. We feel currently in our All Black team, the group that we have is the group that's going to allow us to play the game that we want. Now, Hoskins needs to know, and he's been told, he's been given feedback around where his game's at, and we want him to continue to grow because he has point of difference elements within his game, and we accept that and we believe in him. And we hope he continues to play and challenge our selection.
What about Ricky Riccatelli, like the third hooker spot with Samasonu going down late? He's sort of been very consistent for the Blues, but you've opted for George Bell at this stage.
We've seen a lot of positives within his game and his growth. He's a young boy, or young man, I should say, respectively, around. Has come through the New Zealand 20s environment recently. He's been in the New Zealand 15 team away overseas with Ricky. And we just feel at this stage, getting George Bell in within this group, with obviously the two other fine men that are in there, we just feel at the moment that's what's best for us. And we really enjoyed watching Ricky, especially on the weekend around his game. Just keep to it, just keep fighting away. As I said, opportunities will be there.
A couple of debutants, obviously Scotty. I think one of us talked about, obviously, is a bolter, Pasilo Leotossi. And obviously seeing with Tamaiti Williams, obviously a big man. Is that where you kind of see that our forwards and our tight five are wanting to be athletes and be able to play with the ball? Both Tams and obviously Tossi used to be number 8, so their skill set is probably a little bit different in terms of what we've had previously. Is that the direction that you're seeing with these young props that you've kind of selected?
Yeah, I believe so, Bruno. And you're right on there around big men with skill sets. Pussy is a massive man with a long runway around potential. And I know Jace Ryan's really excited to get his hands on him and get him in within the environment. Skill sets, the ability to get off the ground quickly, the ability to attack also. And just as importantly, mate, as much as they're big men, the challenge for them is the ability to go low. So when you talk about defense if you look at Pussy around early comms in the super season was, yeah, you're a big man, son, but get down low and get where you need to be in the tackle. And they've given us everything we need to do there. I think when you watch the World Cup last year, the highlight really around the ability for the South Africans and the Irish, they're big men to go low and be destructive defensively there. And it's something, if you look at the New Zealand super teams this year, they all adapted to really well. I think of the Chiefs, the Blues and the Hurricanes around their big men getting low and being dominant down there. And Pussy's a great example. We know with Tamaiti, as you said, hell of a skill set. But, as James is most likely going to say shortly, yeah, great passer ball and all the skill sets, but you go on and you win your scrum and you set up your line out and you give us stance and stability there. So it's all the reward of, and as Mark keeps telling me, you win test matches up front, Scott. So I'm learning a lot as we go.
Music to my ears.
Yeah.
Scott, obviously the captain, Scott Barrett, named captain with Geordie Barrett and Adi Severe being vice captains. What was the decision making around there? What are the traits that you saw in Scott? Obviously, you have coached him at the Crusaders and myself being able to obviously be under him, but I guess New Zealand, possibly what the reasons were around Scotty being named All Blacks captain?
You played under him, Brynner?
Yeah, he carried me, mate. He carried me for all the time I was there.
Yeah. So you told me what you enjoyed with him being your captain.
I like
Did he
this.
give
I love
you-
it. Yeah.
This is why I love it. He puts it right back on you. It's not even just rugby, but also me here in the media. Look, to answer that, Scott, world class, I think, in terms of a lock. We talked about it last week. I think in the international level, he's grown a lot better to where he's going to be, I think, for the next World Cup cycle. He's going to be there or thereabouts, being talked about as one of the best locks with the skills that he does have. His leadership, that's growth around him being smart. Look, he has that many questions that he asks of the coaches and of the players in terms of just being rugby knowledge, really smart. And then also as well, character-wise, Scotty will probably jump on this, but a great man that you can follow because he's an action-first led. He's a great man off the field, with whether it be with his family or just how he's been bred. Those are kind of all the traits that I believe that Scotty has. And if I've missed anything out there, my old mate, but that seems to be possibly the case why he could have been named All Blacks skipper.
No, and you're right there, mate. All the things you've just spoken about, you're saying that as a guy that's played with him and under him in regards to leadership. You've supported him in that, mate. The other thing to consider with Scooter is how often did you see him next to his 10 talking about a game and what it looks like tactically next coming up? How often did you see Scooter under the sticks talking around what it's going to look like next and how we need to play? So very astute around that. A man in the country can follow and believe in. And we're really excited to have Scooter lead this team. And then the other side of that is the relationship Bruno he has with the boss, with Razor. So it's tight, it's connected. They can be really honest with each other quickly, and that's important. It's a really important relationship in any test environment around your captain and your head coach.
What's special about the way that those two work together?
They're able to have great conversation around what's best for the team. They're open-minded, they're transparent. That's what Scooter is. Scooter asks questions around the game. He has the ability to talk to the defense coach and the attack coach and seek clarity on what it means for the game and the team. He keeps and simplifies things. He's got a great ability to look at him and follow him. So if you're running around a rugby field and you want to know where your captain is, with Scooter, you look forward because he's in front of you.
Now, Scott, we get a lot of...
And I'll layer into that too, Brynner and Ross. Sorry to butt in there.
No, go for it.
You got Artie. You got Artie and Geordie there supporting him. And you got a Cody Taylor and all those people supporting him. The All Black captaincy is a massive honour and a massive role, but you need all these people standing beside you, supporting you, and taking care of elements of their game. So what does that look like? As you well know, attacking-wise, we'll have our strategy group, Brynner. Defensively, we'll have our leaders. They'll run that for Scooter. They'll take care of a lot of things, and Scooter needs to be able to turn to his lieutenants and say, take care of things for me. And he has the ability to do that well.
One thing that you hear when you talk about the captaincy, you know, there were public in the Artie camp and public in the Scooter camp. The comment on Scooter was always, amazing player, isn't always on the field because of discipline. Did that come into the conversation at all?
There's an understanding of that and what that is. What you look at also is growth. You look at the struggle that he's been through with it. You look at where he's evolved his game around that, and you watch him recently in his test match performances around his tackle height and this quality there. So he's had some tough lessons. He's going to be challenged always around what that looks like all the boys will. You've got to give him the grace around what have you learnt, you've reflected on it, and we have to go forward.
Jipper, you got anything else for Scott?
Well, I suppose probably a little bit of a shout out to Billy Proctor. You know, he sort of has been, you know, a player that has performed for many, many years now, and a big reason why the Hurricanes do so well in attack and defence. Must be exciting. I suppose that 13 position is so critical, and you know, both sides of the ball, but and particularly that defensive effort that he can provide, and then I suppose that battle that he'll have with Rico for that jersey.
Yeah, no. What's been really exciting, James, is my recent time in Super. You get captivated in your environment. So, you know, your nines are your nines, and that's all you see. So going now into the All Black role and becoming an All Black selector, you see players in a different light. Leon and I had Billy last year on the New Zealand 15 tour to Japan, and it was like, who's this kid? Who's this kid? His work rate, his ability to get to edges, his desire to be around the ball. And he's grown his game considerably this year around his attack as a centre, his ability to beat people with his feet. We know about his distribution. And then you add to that his quality as a defender. Myself being the defence coach, you need world-class centres at test match level defensively. They've got to run your system around where you're going, are you high, and what your reads are. They're looking after your wingers just as much as wingers are looking after centres. Billy has got a massive engine on him. There's an opportunity there for him.
You would have obviously watched a hell of a lot of England. You know, obviously an opportunity on the weekend. They played in Japan. What things have you picked up? What can we expect as viewers to see in their game?
Yeah, their game on the weekend, James, confirmed a lot of the pitches. If you haven't watched England as a New Zealand viewer, then you may be surprised, but you shouldn't be, because the way they finished the Six Nations was a team that was able to play to width with skill sets and their ability to beat teams with their ball carriers and their back threats. So, yes, we understand their set-piece presence. Yes, we understand their kick game. But they had beautiful balance in the Six Nations. When you look at the Irish and the French games, very impressive rugby. But then you have the understanding also around the team that can play South Africa in the World Cup the way they did around their pressure rugby game, their kick game also. So we've got a massive challenge in front of us. We're really looking forward to it, but we're expecting an England team to come down here and play.
What are the areas that you see that are non-negotiables to be able to, I guess, have the result of winning test matches and trying to be dominant, I guess, and reclaim us being the best rugby nation in the world?
Yeah, it starts with, and you've heard this a lot, Brunner, starts with effort and care, and it's the simplicity of that.
Yep.
The simplicity of the effort and care that we have on and off the ball. Fundamentally, test matches, set piece pressure and presence. And then around that, having a team that can evolve and adapt during a game. I often have people say, what's the All Black game plan going to be? Yeah, it's going to be this particular week because that's the opposition. But our ability to adjust during a test, we have our commitment to what our game looks like, but what if it doesn't quite go that way? Are we able to adjust? That's the group that we've got to grow and continue to grow. We've got a very good team. We're going to build off the great work that's been put into this team. And we're going to continue to evolve our capacity to influence the game defensively and obviously on attack.
I suppose one of the things about you, Scott, is probably not as well known maybe as some of the other coaches within the group. So maybe we'll find out a little bit about you. You played a bit for Canterbury. Why did you transition into coaching and what led you in that direction?
Mate, I really like being in the background. I want to stay that guy. I enjoy just being in the background, just going about my work. So I'm happy for you guys to keep it that way.
We failed at that.
I'll fulfill my media requirements when I need. In regards to my playing background, I'm not too interested in that, to be honest. I've moved on. I was involved in the first year Crusader team. Great privilege to be involved. What got me involved with coaching, Ross, was just love for the game. Love the game. If there's a young James Parsons or a young Brynner out there that wants to get better and they look at you, I was always excited to, in some capacity, try and help them. As Bryn will attest, now that's with a lot of support and just as much challenge, but we work it out together. And fundamentally, mate, is my love for the game and working with people that want to get better. And then what happens through the layers is the players grow you just as much as your environments. So they share their experiences, their view on the game. And I became more understanding of the game. My time with a lot of quality players teaching me about the game. And now I'm able to share that in my view around it. I've got a real commitment to helping people be the best they can be. And I'm excited to do that within the All Black environment. Already talking to a number of the boys, they want to be challenged. They always want to grow. Brynner, you well know, with a guy like Sam Whitelock, he would stand in front of me every day and say, Scott, how are you going to get me better? Now, those guys excite me. And Owen Frank's the same. And within this group of the All Blacks, we have people like that. So I'm grateful, I'm privileged, but I'm looking forward to getting my hands on some players that want to get better.
Wow. I'm inspired. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
That's the greatness of obviously Scott Hansen. He's going to go back into the background now. He's going to watch that many code clubs. But yeah, look, very, very lucky knowing being able to work with him and a lot of the coaches that have been there. I think New Zealand rugby's going in the right direction in terms of, obviously, we went through a bit of a passage where we weren't able to be where I think we want to be. I truly do believe that the coaches that we do have, just having the honour to be able to do that with them, New Zealand's going to really enjoy this coaching group that we have, and I think we're going to see the best All Blacks team for this, especially with this next World Cup cycle and the time that these guys are going to put in for the All Blacks. So really excited.
Yeah. On that note, Scott, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we see you again soon. Pull you out of the background for a couple of seconds at some stage.
You're most welcome, mate. I look forward to talking to you next year.